When it comes to a daily driving hot hatch, few brands do it just as well as Volkswagen. The company practically invented the segment over 40 years ago, and for 2022, Volkswagen is looking to remind enthusiasts that they are the king of the hot hatch segment with the new GTI and Golf R. Now, I've already had a chance to drive both of these vehicles out in North Carolina late last year. However, this week, as you can see, VW has loaned me this 2022 Golf R equipped with this 6-speed manual transmission. As you guys know, the Golf R has been forbidden fruit in America. However, that changed back in 2004 when we finally got the R32. For this all-new 8th generation, we have basically what Volkswagen is calling the most high-performance oriented and quickest Golf R they've ever produced. We have over 300 horsepower under the hood, we have a standard 4-motion all-wheel drive system, and we have the availability of a 6-speed stick or a quick-shifting dual-clutch transmission. So if you guys are looking for the ultimate daily driving all-weather hot hatch, does the 2022 Volkswagen Golf R represent the best of the breed? Stay tuned to find out. Now, here in America, the Golf R took a break from 2020 to 2021. However, for 2022, it is back, and it is back with a vengeance. So before we talk about the exterior styling changes, I want to remind you guys what's powering the Golf R under the hood. Now, ever since the Mark 6 Golf R, we've had a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood, of course, with the company's direct injection system. This is part of the EA 888 engine family. It's now, I believe, in its 4th generation. And in the new Golf R, it now makes nearly 30 more horsepower over the previous generation. 315 horsepower and up to 295 pound-feet of torque. This one here is the 6-speed manual, which means it makes 280 pound-feet of torque. For those of you who choose the 7-speed DSG, you'll get 295 pound-feet of torque. Of course, this is a Golf R. It's the ultimate Golf, which means their 4-motion all-wheel drive system comes standard. It does have the ability to send up to 50% of the power to the rear and 100% of the power side to side. So there's a drift mode on this vehicle, which I had a chance to test out in Michigan late last year on an ice course, which was really, really fun. Fuel economy, in case you guys are wondering, is rated at 20 in the city and 28 on the highway. Premium gas, of course, is required. This vehicle has about a 14.5-gallon gas tank. It was showing a little over 400 miles on a full tank when VW delivered this car to my house. Now, in terms of performance, VW says the DSG should get to 60 in about 4.7 seconds. The 6-speed that I have here, which is only available in the US market. Those of you in Europe who are watching, sadly, you don't get the manual anymore. That one should do it in the low 5-second range. We'll test it out. We've got our 0 to 60 equipment here, so we'll see what we can get. I believe the Golf R has a top speed of around 155 miles an hour. You can, of course, take the limiter off, and it should do almost 170 miles an hour. As this vehicle sits, it weighs in at just over 3,400 pounds. The automatic is almost 100 pounds heavier. Now, closing the hood, let's take a look at the styling for this all-new Mark 8 Golf R. Now, as you guys know, with the Golf R, it's always been a very sedate-looking vehicle. In fact, I've always thought that the GTI looked a little bit more aggressive, so Volkswagen did try to make this new Golf R appear a little bit more special-looking. You can see if you want this car, you can basically take your pick between 3 different colors. This is the pure white exterior color. There's also a lapis blue and a pure black exterior color. VW sadly doesn't offer very many color options. You can see all Golf Rs include the latest generation in terms of styling language. You have full LED headlights with an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal. You can see there's this really cool LED accent that goes through the grille that connects the 2 headlights together. It doesn't follow the accents of the emblem, and the emblem does not light up like it does in the ID4. But you can see here as well, VW got rid of the fog lights, but you do have some functional air intakes. I like the black accents, especially with the pure white. And you can see you can distinguish this as a Golf R because of the blue line that's in the headlight and in the grille, and the very, very subtle R badge, which again is very different versus the GTI, which includes a red line in the front fascia. And then you can see here, looking around the side profile, this is still built on the MQB architecture. In fact, in terms of the wheelbase and overall length, this is pretty much the same. This vehicle is around 168 inches long overall. It's riding on a 103.5-inch long wheelbase. This is considerably smaller versus something like the previous generation Honda Civic Type R, which technically isn't available anymore, and Honda hasn't shown us the next-gen Type R yet. Toyota just revealed the GR Corolla, which will be a direct competitor, and then Subaru discontinued the WRX STI, which we don't know when a next generation will be coming. Now, in terms of the wheels, you can see all Golf Rs here in America are very well equipped. And they come with these really gorgeous looking kind of Y-spoke style machine with a black inner spoke 19-inch wheel. You can see it's riding on a 235 35 R19 tire. These are Bridgestone Potenza S005 summer performance tires. And the brakes, VW seriously upgraded the brakes on this new generation Golf R. They're a 14.1-inch cross-drilled rotor with a 4-piston fixed caliper design with a blue painted calipers on all 4 corners with the R logo stamped on the front. It's a beautiful looking brake, really gives you some nice stopping power. The suspension for this vehicle has also been redesigned. We do have adjustable dampers as standard, which offers 15 different levels of adjustment. You can see, looking at the rest of the side profile, there's a nice little R badge here. There are also some silver or kind of like aluminum covered door mirror caps. This is typically what you find on Audi S products, and I like how VW's put it on this vehicle. I like how the window trim here is blacked out, and now all Golf Rs come standard with a panoramic style sunroof, or it's kind of like a half panel roof, which previously you couldn't even get a sunroof on a Golf R. So VW is really throwing in the features. You can basically buy it as one fully loaded vehicle here in America, which is why the vehicle has also increased in the overall price. Now looking at the rear, you can see the tail lights are now full LED. You have an LED turn signal, LED brake lights. That was something that wasn't included on the previous Mark 7 Golf R. And you can see here, this rear spoiler definitely looks a little bit more serious, still super subtle compared to what you get in the STI or the Civic Type R, which again, you can't buy those vehicles anymore. But you can see here, very minimal badging back here, just the VW logo. There's a subtle little R badge. And then again, looking at the rear bumper diffuser, there are quad outlet exhausts, which is a signature theme with any Golf R. So let's go ahead and fire it up so you can hear how it sounds. And while it certainly doesn't sound as good as the Hyundai Elantra N, the Hyundai N products, it definitely sounds better than the previous generation Civic Type R, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what the GR Corolla sounds like eventually. You can see, opening up the cargo area, there is a good amount of space in here. There's around 19.9 cubic feet, and you fold down those seats, you get around just over 35 cubic feet of space. So here we are back in the ultimate version of the Golf R. Remember, the R is supposed to stand for racing. And in the past, the Golf R kind of didn't live up to that name because it was just a little bit too refined, a little bit too mundane, especially for something to wear an R badge. Now, when this all-new Mark 8 came out, and I first had a chance to drive it out in Asheville, and I also drove it in Michigan, a European spec car, I was simply blown away. But now that I have a chance to drive it at home, with the 6-speed manual, I can live with the car, I can see what it's like. We're gonna find out truly how this car drives on a daily basis if you guys decide to live with this vehicle. Now the first thing I'm noticing right off the bat is it's very easy to drive even when you're in like its R mode, but you can access the drive modes by pushing this button here. You can go into like a special mode here, which it'll basically put it in maximum attack mode, where it's supposed to be like a Nürburgring special mode. But from this mode, you can also go here, you can put the stability control into a sport setting. And I want to test out what the 0 to 60 time is, because obviously the dual clutch is the one that's going to be the quicker option. But the manual isn't bad per se, but I am curious to see what we can get with the manual model. So I have the stability control in sport. It's going to be a little tricky to launch this car, but we'll see what this R is capable of doing. Ooh. 5.6 seconds there. Now keep in mind, this thing, the automatic version will probably do it in around under 5 seconds, 4.7. I could probably get it a little bit better there, but I'm noticing, that was my first time launching this car, it doesn't like it if you over rev it slightly. I actually over revved it a little bit and it cut the power pretty abruptly, which isn't ideal. So we'll have to try it again and see if I can get a little bit closer to the low 5 second mark. I was expecting this car to do it in like 5.2 seconds. But again, with these manual cars, it's a little bit tricky to launch. You have to launch it just right, and you have to get the shifting just right. But at least because this is all-wheel drive, there isn't any wheel spin or wheel hop or like torque steer or anything like that. It just basically goes. And you do have to go to third, which is going to slow the 0 to 60 time down. I got 5.6 here, where this stretch of road is slightly uphill versus over there where it's more leveled off. So I think this car could do it in 5.4. It certainly feels like a low 5-second car. And the best thing about this version is the handling. I mean, Volkswagen really went to town with the chassis on this car. It finally feels like a Civic Type R competitor, which, by the way, you don't even have the Type R available to purchase right now. And just, oh my God, this engine has so much torque. It has a much better sound this year now, even though we don't have that special Sport Tune exhaust that you get in Europe. The exhaust has a couple of burbles and crackles, and there's just torque everywhere. The one thing about this engine, though, is I hate how it redlines at 6,500 RPM, and you want to push it a little bit harder, and it doesn't allow you to. It cuts the power really abruptly. It doesn't reward you for shifting a little bit late. But God, the steering in this car is so good. The suspension is so good. The adaptive dampers that the Golf R comes standard with has 15 different modes of adjustability. So you can basically go from a really, really stiff suspension all the way up down to a comfort suspension. And that's kind of the cool thing about the R, is it still has that daily drivable. Oh. Oh my God, that's fun. That is fun. I love how VW still offers this with a manual. Now, the manual isn't perfect. I wish that it offered active rev matching. That's the one thing that I think that VW should have included, especially at this price point, because you can get it in something like a Honda Civic Si. But let's just try it one more time here. Oof. 5.3 seconds there, so just as I suspected, this car is a low 5-second car, but it does take a little bit of time to get the launch right, but when you get it right, boy, is this thing fast. I mean, obviously the dual clutch is probably about a half a second faster than this car, but the manual just makes it so enjoyable to drive. God, this car is fun. What a fun car. That is insane how good this generation is compared to the Mark 7. The Mark 7 just definitely felt too refined and mundane. This has that race car feel that I really want. And obviously, for those of you who want even more noise, you can get a louder exhaust for it from the aftermarket. And heel towing on this car is actually not too bad. It does rev match pretty well when you blip the throttle trying to rev match on your downshifts. But again, an active rev matching function would have been great to see in the ultimate version of the R. The ride quality, even in this special mode, is still surprisingly good. But you know what? Let's actually take it out of this mode. Let's just go to comfort. In comfort mode here, it really changes a lot. So I'm gonna also go back here. What I don't like is I have to go into this screen here to turn on and off the stability control. There just should be a button for that. I shouldn't have to switch that automatically or through the screen. But just changing the drive modes here, let's go to comfort. You can really get a sense that the suspension in this car just rides or gets a lot softer. Let me turn on the air conditioning because it's a little hot in here. Which again, I'm trying to turn it on while I'm driving, and it's kind of annoying. It's not like, where is the auto function? Hit that button there. There we go. All right, so the air conditioning is now on, which again, it's turning on the fan speed too high. This infotainment system is perfectly fine to use when you're sitting still, but when you're trying to drive the damn car, it is super annoying how everything's in the screen here versus before you used to have actual hard buttons. So this is partly where Volkswagen, I think, went a little bit backwards here. I think they should have kept some of the hard buttons, especially with the climate control and the stability control system. But let's come back to what I was saying. In comfort mode here, the car drives pretty well in comfort mode. The steering gets noticeably lighter, the suspension gets softer, the exhaust gets quieter. But it still will boogie when you put your foot down. But again, there's no more pops from the exhaust, so it's not quite as loud. And the shifter in this car is actually really good. The throws are a little bit longer than I would like. I also don't like the shift knob. I think it's too big. I would prefer something a little bit smaller, but that's something you could probably change with the aftermarket. The steering in this mode is still really quick, but just is not very heavy feeling. So you are trading in some of that heft when you change the different drive modes. In terms of the road feel, you do get some sense of what the front tires are doing, but again, this is an electric power steering assist, so you don't really feel that. You don't really feel much. You kind of get used to that. And the all-wheel drive system in this car has the ability to send more power to the rear this time. So remember, this car does have a drift mode, which the drift mode allows you to basically not necessarily do like Focus RS style drifts, but you can do a little bit. I did try this out when I was on the driving portion out when I was testing this car out in Michigan. But noticeably, listen to how much louder it is when you put it into a drift mode here or a sport mode. And I also feel just how much stiffer the dampers have gotten. So very, very, two personality car. It's got dual personalities, which is nice because when you're paying this kind of money for a vehicle, you need it to also be comfortable if you are planning to daily drive it, because this is an expensive car. You want to be able to daily drive this as well as take it out to an autocross course or a racetrack. Oh my God. No torque steer whatsoever, but I did actually feel the back end start to step out a little bit there, because remember, this can send 50% of the power to the rear and it can send up to 100% of the power side to side. So it tries to kind of power oversteer you when you want it to let the back end step out to give it a feel of a rear wheel drive car. It's not perfect, but it's certainly better versus the previous generation all-wheel drive systems in the Golf R. But let's go back into comfort here. I want to talk a little bit about the fuel economy. This car is rated at 20 in the city, 29 on the highway. The fuel economy in my weeks worth of testing has been around 22 mpg on premium gas. Not bad gas mileage, but remember, you didn't buy this for great gas mileage, but if you do drive it more conservatively, it will get significantly better gas mileage versus what I'm getting. On the highway, I did get this up to around 28 mpg, so it's not bad gas mileage, especially when you've got this like small 14-gallon gas tank. But at a full tank, when they dropped this off, it was showing around 405 miles on a full tank. So that's actually not bad. And that's the beauty about the Golf R, is you can just daily drive it normally. But I'm impressed. I mean, I love the dual clutch model when I drove that 6 months ago. I love the manual as well. Obviously, it's not as quick, but because it's all-wheel drive, it'll launch pretty hard. And really, if you guys are looking for a hot hatch that's all-wheel drive right now, this is the only game in town. The Corolla GR is not available right now. The Civic Type R is still a couple of months away from being revealed. And then there's no more Subaru WRX STI, which was a sedan in the first place anyways. So yeah, the VW is in a class of its own for now. And I have to say, it pretty much feels like the ultimate hot hatch. So after spending a week driving the all-new Mark 8 generation Golf R, if you guys have had some time in the previous Mark 6 and Mark 7 Golf Rs, this new generation may not look all that different on the outside. However, in terms of the driving dynamics, VW really stepped up their game here. This car seriously feels like a nice step above a Volkswagen GTI, which in the past, I had trouble recommending the Golf R over a GTI because essentially if you just needed all-wheel drive, that was really the only reason to choose it. Now, however, VW has made this car significantly faster. As you guys saw, with the manual transmission model, 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds is just plenty quick. The dual clutch model will do it in 4.7 seconds when I last tested it. The handling characteristics, the steering, the suspension have been seriously upgraded. I love the adjustable dampers, which really allow you to custom tailor the ride quality of this vehicle from comfortable all the way to full-on race mode. The interior, while it does have some nice tech, I do like the new screens. I think the ergonomics took a step back. I don't like the touch-sensitive controls on the center stack. I think VW should have given us some traditional knobs and buttons for the climate and the audio system just to kind of offset it. I think they were trying to go a little bit too futuristic. The interior space, however, is pretty good. The back seat has enough space, I think, for the vehicle of this size. The seats are also comfortable. This is going to have more room versus the GR Corolla. However, we have no idea what the next generation Civic Type R is going to be like in terms of the interior space, although it should be comparable to the Civic hatchback, which does have a little bit more space versus this vehicle. My only issue really with the Golf R is the fact that it is very expensive and you can't really buy it in that many color combinations. Like I said, I like this pure white exterior, but if you want a lighter color interior or a red interior, VW doesn't offer that. And if you wanted red or a green exterior color, VW again doesn't offer that. They don't even offer a gray or silver color on this car. You have your choice between either white, black, or blue, which again is trying to help them simplify the production line of this vehicle, which, by the way, if you guys are looking to purchase this vehicle, the Golf R is in a class of its own for now until the GR Corolla and the Civic Type R comes out by the end of this year. And basically this car comes as one fully loaded trim, and it starts at just over $44,000, $44,880 to be exact. That's plus destination. If you guys want the dual clutch is an extra $800. So this one here with just the manual with destination comes to just over $45,000. The dual clutch will be just under $46,000. So it is pretty expensive for a Golf. However, the performance of this car has just been risen entirely And if you're also comparing this thing to like a GTI, VW does charge about $15,000 more, which for those of you who really want this car, you might or may not be able to justify it. Me personally, I do think that VW is charging a little bit too much. The old Golf R started at around $40,000, so this new one's about $3,000 more. I think that was a good price, so we'll really have to wait and see what the next gen Type R is going to be priced at and what the GR Corolla will be priced at, because if those vehicles are around $40,000 and this one's $45,000, I do think that at that price point, the VW is too expensive. However, if the Type R and the GR Corolla are right around the same price, then I do think this still remains the king or the ultimate hot hatch for now, at least until the two Japanese competitors come back into the market by the end of this year. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full review on this 2022 Volkswagen Golf R. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.